landlord na kami din. Rescue. Grabe.
Ito phase 3, Talisay. Hey guys. Whatever na mo rescue, bakayan.
Typhoon Tino, a powerful tropical storm fueled by superheated Pacific waters, has slammed into the Philippines with devastating force. Making landfall on November 4th, the storm unleashed winds up to 65 mmWp and rainfall that turned entire neighborhoods into raging rivers within minutes. Families climbed to rooftops. Coastal villages vanished beneath 6 to 10 feet of storm surge, and hundreds of thousands across Luzon and the Visayas were forced to flee as floodwaters tore through homes, roads, and farmland. Emergency responders worked through the dark, battling fierce winds to rescue survivors trapped inside rapidly rising water. The storm is still moving, and the danger isn't over. Tonight, we take you inside the disaster, how Tino formed, where it hit hardest, the heroic efforts to save lives, and the frightening future these storms reveal. Stay with us. When Typhoon Tino roared ashore, the Philippines faced one of its worst fears, water rising faster than anyone could run. Along the coastline of Catanduanes and Albay, homes that once sat safely behind beaches suddenly found waves smashing through windows as storm surge surged inland. Residents reported the ocean climbing hundreds of feet beyond the shoreline, swallowing streets, gardens, and entire communities under churning brown seawater. In the city of Roxas, chest-deep flooding forced families to abandon their belongings and wade to safety with only what they could carry above their heads. Streets became rivers. Bridges disappeared. Motorcycles and tricycles drifted away as if weightless. Further inland, torrential rain battered the mountainous regions of Camarines Sur and Quezon, unleashing deadly landslides that buried sections of highway beneath tons of shifting earth. Villagers pounded on neighbors' doors, urging them to evacuate as mud and rock cascaded toward their homes. As the power grid failed, millions were plunged into darkness, the only illumination coming from lightning ripping across the sky. Without communication lines, isolated towns could only listen to the roar of the wind and pray rescuers would reach them before the floodwaters did. By midnight, it was clear Tino wasn't just passing through, it was rewriting the map.
What a sound!
Behind every flooded street and collapsed home is a family fighting to survive, and Typhoon Tino tested thousands in ways they never imagined. In Camarines Norte, a mother clung to her 2 children on a rooftop for nearly 6 hours after water filled their home floor by floor. We could hear houses breaking apart in the dark, she recalled. We just held on and prayed. In eastern Samar, fishermen rushed to pull neighbors into small wooden boats normally used for hauling the day's catch, now serving as lifelines in a drowning town. Others inflated rubber tubes and swimming pool floaters for kids as makeshift life preservers. A family of 5 in Quezon province didn't survive after a massive palm tree uprooted by Tino's winds crashed through their home while they slept. Their tragedy shook the nation, a reminder that danger doesn't always come with a warning siren. Meanwhile, elderly residents unable to move quickly relied on student volunteers who went door to door, guiding them through knee-high waters to evacuation trucks. Emergency hotlines lit up non-stop, but rescue teams were overwhelmed, racing from one desperate call to the next. In Typhoon, Tino's path, seconds determined survival, and not everyone had enough of them.
Kasi na yung makatabang Delta Phase 3.
Across Luzon and the Visayas, the scale of Typhoon Tino's damage is staggering and painfully human. More than 133,000 people have been affected. Over 22,000 residents fled their homes in the middle of the night, many carrying children on their shoulders while wading through filthy floodwater. Inside crowded evacuation centers, schools, gyms, city halls, families try to rest on cold cement floors, listening to the rain hammering the roof and wondering what they'll return to once the water recedes. Over 10 major bridges and multiple highways remain underwater or ripped apart, leaving entire towns cut off and dependent on airlifts for food and medical support. Coastal fishing villages, the heart of local economies, lost fleets of boats worth years of income in a single night. Power lines snapped like twigs. Thousands sit in darkness with no cell service to call for help. Hospitals are running on backup generators while doctors treat floodborne infections, cuts from hidden debris, and trauma from hours spent trapped in rising water. Children ask when they can go home. Parents don't have answers. For many, here surviving the storm was only the beginning. Rebuilding lives after typhoon. Tino may take years, but the next storm could arrive in months. Typhoon. Tino didn't appear out of nowhere. It was engineered by a planet that's heating fast. Meteorologists explain that tropical cyclones are powered by warm ocean water, and in the West Pacific temperatures have risen up to 2 degrees Fahrenheit above average, providing the perfect energy source for storms to rapidly intensify. That's exactly what Tino did, forming as a weak disturbance, then strengthening explosively within 24 hours as it moved toward the Philippines. Meanwhile, moisture-packed rain bands wrapped around the storm like gears in a machine. As Tino stalled over Luzon, those bands repeatedly dumped torrents of water over the same areas. This is known as training, and it's a major reason why normally manageable rivers turned into walls of water. Add to that the reality that sea levels around the Philippines are rising at nearly twice the global average. When Tino pushed a storm surge ashore, the ocean started from a higher baseline, like pouring more water into an already full glass. Scientists warn that storms like Tino are no longer rare. Warmer seas, wetter atmospheres, slower-moving cyclones. It's a dangerous combination, and it's becoming the new normal for coastal cities across the globe, including those right here in the United States. As Typhoon Tino ripped through the Philippines, the nation's response was immediate and heroic. Rescue teams deployed rubber boats, high-water trucks, and helicopters to reach those trapped in rooftops and attics. Firefighters knocked down locked gates to pull families to safety. Coast Guard units navigated raging rivers that used to be roads. Volunteers formed human chains to prevent elderly residents from being swept away by strong currents. Inside evacuation centers, teachers and nurses transformed classrooms into clinics tending to wounds, calming frightened children, and distributing what little food and water they could gather. Churches opened their doors to the homeless, offering blankets and a place to sleep. Local officials coordinated non-stop with the national government to secure relief goods. The Department of Social Welfare and Development mobilized thousands of family food packs. The Philippine Red Cross delivered clean drinking water hygiene kits and medical supplies. But even with all this effort, the challenges remain overwhelming. Debris-clogged roads prevent aid from reaching isolated towns. Continued rainfall threatens more landslides. And with agriculture severely hit, families fear not just today's hunger, but next week's. Still, as the rain slows, one truth stands firm. In the Philippines, community is stronger than any storm.
Who landed up?
Start. Natuma na sa balay, guys.
Typhoon. Tino is not an isolated disaster, it is part of a growing pattern that scientists and coastal communities have been warning about for years. The Philippines experiences an average of 20 tropical cyclones every year, more than any country on Earth. And each year more of them carry the fingerprints of climate change. Warmer oceans mean storms gather energy faster. Higher sea levels push storm surge farther inland. And aging infrastructure never built for this scale of destruction collapses under the stress. What happens in Manila, Catanduanes, and Quezon today can easily happen in Miami, Houston, Norfolk, or Charleston tomorrow. The same physics applies: heat the oceans and storms become monsters. Yet, amid the destruction, Tino reveals something deeper, a message about humanity's resilience. Families opened their doors to strangers. Fishermen risked their lives to save neighbors. Kids shared toys in evacuation centers to comfort one another. Disasters expose vulnerability, but they also expose courage. The question isn't whether storms like Tino will come again. The question is whether we'll be ready when they do. From seawalls to updated flood maps to stronger evacuation planning, the time to act is not someday. It's now. As the final rain bands of Typhoon Tino drift west, a country breathes but not in relief. The scars left behind tell a story that numbers alone can't measure: a child clutching a mud-soaked school bag, a grandmother staring at the empty space where her home once stood. Entire communities are learning to start again. The Philippines has weathered countless storms, but each one grows stronger, faster, and less predictable, fueled by a climate tipping into dangerous territory. Tino may be gone, but the message it delivered rings louder than the winds that tore through the night. Prepare now. Adapt now. Act now. For viewers across the United States, this is not a distant problem. Stronger hurricanes along our own coasts prove that we share the same storm-shaken future. From Florida to Texas to California's Pacific shore, we are all in the path of what comes next. So let's stay informed. Let's support global resilience. Let's push for smarter planning and stronger infrastructure before the ocean climbs any higher. If this story opened your eyes, help us keep others safe. Like, share, subscribe. Together we can shine a light even through the darkest storm.